Well, Shaun George, former boxer and trainer of Zhang.
Yeah.
Shaun, we're here at the press conference for the Zhang Joyce 2 fight. I've just had that press conference. Now, I want to pick up straight away on what you said, Shaun, which sort of hit to us. You said straight away there to Adam Morley, who's the manager of Joe Joyce. You said, if you don't know shit about boxing, if that's what you think, in the words of Floyd Mayweather, you know shit about boxing.
Roger Mayweather.
Yeah.
Roger Mayweather.
Roger Mayweather.
Yeah,
okay, yes. So talk to me a little bit about that. With Adam's comments there, he was talking about, had the eye not closed up, he thinks that they were going to take over and they were going to go on to the fight. What was your thoughts on that?
They wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
They wasn't paying attention to the defense. They wasn't paying attention to what was actually happening in the ring. Jalay's a very skilled fighter, highly skilled fighter. He's not just a puncher. He doesn't just have fast hand. He's an all-around fighter. And you're going to start to see that as you see him more. But Saturday night, you're going to see something different going into Saturday night.
I think the first time we saw him actually was with Filip Hrgovic on the undercard of Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk. And a lot of people, including myself, felt that he won that fight actually. Yeah, he did tire down the backstretch. But we saw there actually that he's got incredibly quick hands. For a guy that weighed 19 stone 8, he's got extremely quick hands. Now, what do you read into Joe Joyce coming into the last fight at 18 stone 2 when his career best performance for me was when he was 19 stone 3 when he beat Joe Parker? Why would you think that they would drop that much weight? What do you read into that?
I don't read into it. I've been following Joe Joyce since 2014. I actually met him in 2011 in Azerbaijan when Anthony Joshua was in the World Championships. I know who Joe Joyce is as a person. I know what he's going to do before he's even going to do it. Like, I was actually a big fan of Joe Joyce coming in. Jalay his boxing IQ is very high. You guys over here only noticed one or two things. You're not noticing all the details behind it. Joe and his team they're not understanding the details behind what's actually happening, right? And then you start opening your eyes and start realizing, Jalay was picking off all those punches and catching them in between the punches, because all those punches wasn't landing. They want to talk about how he was throwing. They want to talk about how he was throwing 80 punches around. It was more than half of those punches getting picked off, and he was getting caught in between.
Sure.
So skill pay the bills. Joe Joyce has the conditioning. That's what everybody says. He has the whiskers. Jalay has the power, he has the ability, he has the skills to win this fight.
Sure, I mean, listen, people that don't know your backstory, you're a former professional boxer yourself. You actually ended the career of Chris Bird, the same guy that beat Klitschko once. So you boxed at a very high level, and you clearly come with a game plan there for Jalay, where a lot of people thought, going into that fight, he was just a big guy, a big southpaw and heavy-handed, but actually there's a lot more boxing IQ to his game than people actually recognised, and we saw that then. Going into this second fight, Joe Joyce looks like he's going to come in heavier. I think that punch resistance didn't seem to be there when he was down at 18 odd stone. I think it was a massive mistake by their team coming in that low. Going into this one, he looks like he's going to come in bigger. What will you have to do? Will Jalay have to change anything? Will he have to adapt? Because, I mean, that fight for me in the first fight was so conclusive. I was there commentating on that fight, and I looked at that and I went from round 2, when he rocked Joe to the sole of his boots, you go, the writing was on the wall, and it was very, very conclusive. For me, it was a fight that you knew was only a matter of time, and we knew who the winner was going to be. Will you have to change anything going into this second fight because you think that Joe will bring anything any different?
We always make adjustments. It's always going to be. We know Joe's going to do some things different. We know he's coming in heavier. We know that he's going to try to put more pressure on. I'm very aware of what Salas is going to do in this fight. I could tell you the game plan right now, but I'm not. All right, I don't want them to switch up, right? We know what Joe is going to do. The thing is, they don't know, and no one has no idea what Jalay is going to do in that ring.
Right.
And this is the fun part about boxing. This is the part, but because it's going to be a fun fight. We have 290, 80 plus guys in there. It's going to be a great fight.
Do you know what, Shaun? The question I want to ask you here, right? So, with
the best
Joe
fight,
Joyce,
not to mention the best fight in heavyweight this year.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And respect to both guys for going back into this fight with what's going on in the heavyweight division right now, and the way the landscape is. These two guys are like old school, taking it back, getting it back on a game, which is great for heavyweight boxing, and it's needed. Yeah. It's needed. So what I want to ask you is, like, so people go, right, so Joe Joyce, for him to win this fight, he's got to adapt, and this adaptability's got to play a big part. Well, we know that Joe boxes one way and one way only, so he can't adapt. So for me, it's all about the weight that he comes in to try and take Gillet into them later rounds and try and make it into a bit of a dogfight. But for Gillet, now you'll be able to answer this one. Has he got that adaptability? Like, so what we're saying, he's a big guy, but can he adapt if he needs to adapt? Because the way that you think it was, he's a big guy, and he's cute in what he does, and his boxing IQ is good, and you know, but what I'm saying is, can he box on the back foot if needed to? Can he keep it at long range if needed to?
Have you watched Gillet's amateur career?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, so Anthony Joshua, who he boxed in the 2012 Olympics, Anthony Joshua was trained by my father, so he comes through our system.
All right.
So I knew Gillet back from in the amateur days. So yeah, of course I watched him, and obviously I watched him. I was out watching him against Hrgovic. Yeah. So I know what he can do. But I'm just asking you, if needed to, has he got that adaptability? Is he prepared to? You know, obviously he's prepared to go in the trenches, but can he box on the back foot as well? Can he keep it long? Because that would surprise people.
Training camp was great going into this fight. We had a few different sparring partners there. Gillet was doing a lot of different things in there. So Gillet is not a one-dimensional fighter.
Sure. Not
even a little bit. He can box on his back foot. He could go push forward. He could stay there toe-to-toe, blow for blow, round for round if he has to. He's not afraid of Joe Joyce. And that's the issue with Joe Joyce's other opponents.
Sure.
After they hit him, and then he kept coming forward, he broke them mentally. Sure. You're not going to break Gillet mentally. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so Gillet, you know, he can keep it long, he can sit in the pocket if needed to, and he can do the 12 rounds, because I think that Joyce's team are banking on it going in the second half.
Yeah, look at they want to go the distance. You heard Joe said it. They just want to win.
Sure.
So, my opinion, if you look at the scorecard, one judge had what's his guy name? Joe winning by 1 point, and the other two judges had Gillet only winning by one point.
Sure.
That's scary. Because when you look at the fight, anybody watching the fight knows who won the fight. Sure. The boxing fans know who won the fight. The British fans know who's won that fight. So it's always scary coming here and fighting because of the judges and the refereeing here.
So do you want to take it out of the judges' hands? And is that what the plan is, to take it out of the judges' hands and
every
try
single
and get this
round.
job done inside
Every
the
single round.
distance?
We're going to be strong in the first round. We're going to be strong in the 12th round.
Sure.
Every single round we're focused on. We sparring sets to 15, 16 rounds. We're good at what we're doing. We know what we're doing. It was an organized training camp. We're ready for it.
And just finally, Shaun, he comes through this fight on Saturday night, puts in there, he's the interim champion, he's in line for that world title shot. What would the ideal roadmap be like for you? Would you like Gillet in against Alexander Usyk? Would it be Fury? Would it be Joshua? Where would you like to see him fighting? What would the roadmap be for you?
Well, obviously, Usyk, because that's what the title we're fighting for.
Sure.
But any one of the top names, honestly,
the big names.
Gillet wins this. When he wins this fight, he's legitimate the top 3 guy in the world.
Is he capable of winning that world title? Is he capable of beating any of the top heavyweights out there now?
Yeah. You listen. What has other heavyweights done lately? Who has they fought lately?
Sure.
When it comes down to it,
absolutely. These
two guys are really fighting each other, going out there looking for the best fights possible. We was asking for these guys in 2017. The promoters wasn't giving us a card. The promoters wasn't giving us the fights. So this is what it comes down to. Gillet want all the smoke.